never pass through the school will be able to get access to this life skills information. And we're very happy because Blue Cross Life Skills is targeting the students. So when we are targeting the teachers and they are targeting the students, then we are saying they're getting holistic support. We are also very happy with the area of rehabilitation. NACADA supports accreditation and licensing of rehab programs. And Blue Cross has been very good, particularly in rehabilitating street children. So again, we are ready to work together in this area, and particularly for your presence in the slums, targeting the vulnerable children. Vulnerable populations need this special support. So thank you so much for listening to me, and just to assure you that NACADA is ready to work with different partners as long as we are supporting Kenyans to get away from substance abuse. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Can we, on behalf of the CEO NACADA, flower and applaud. Thank you very much. I think we have with our first session, and even as we go to the second session, we are going to have our panelists. May I recognize the presence of and Rose Abondo from the judiciary. Wherever you are, please feel welcome. I can also see Honorable Farida and Betty Okero, who are part of our panelists. Feel welcome. And at this stage, we are going for the next session, where we will invite the panelists. Please just come here so that we move fast. This part will be led by Mr. Lebanus, who is one of our board members. Representative of the Slum Child Foundation, if you are here, Jojo Chien, please join us up here. NACADA, if Ken is there, please just make it up here. And we have our director, Ishmael Shem. Please come here. And we have Lebanus. If we can be a bit faster.
Good morning. Praise the Lord. First, we are grateful that you are here, and we want to talk about drug and substance abuse. This is something that is now taking country crazy, because you can see what is behind the burning of schools is drugs. And if we are here and we open our hearts to discuss this, it means we are putting mitigations towards the challenges that the country is going through. Secondly, we are aware that the children are the beneficiaries and the sufferers, and they are making the entire community. So for that reason, we are going to discuss how we can prevent alcohol and substance use among youth and children. And before we do that, I will call Mr. Wamaya, Madam Wamaya, to come. Thank you, Madam.
All protocol observed. Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you so much for coming to this conference. My name is Caroline Wamaya, and I work with Blue Cross Sumo. So today I'm going to present to you the survey that was done on alcohol and substance use among children and youth. So following different research done by NACADA and Blue Cross, it is evident that alcohol and other substances abuse affect children and youth in various ways, with some children and youth drinking while other parents or guardians are drinking. By this I mean that some children start drinking because of the influence they get from their parents. Maybe the parents come home with the drinks, or they come home drunk, and this one also determines or influences the children to start drinking. So according to survey done by NACADA, I'm just going to take this so briefly and summarize because it has been mentioned by the CEO. So the survey that was done by NACADA in 2016 found out that secondary schools in Kenya are not safe and not drug-free environments. And the age onset to alcohol and drug abuse marks the period of transition from primary to secondary school, that is between the ages of 13 to 15 years. So from this survey, there were some findings. And from the table you see in front, you realize that prescription drugs, the prevalence was 16.1%. So which means it is commonly used and even more than banned. So this was for the people who have ever used, for the students who have ever used. And in this table here, you see that in the last 6 months before the survey was done, we found out that these were the outcomes, the types of drugs, the prevalence, and the number of students. And in this table here, you see that the prescription drugs has risen. The number is now even higher than MIRA, so it is at 6.8. Findings from NACADA from the survey that was done in 2019, it was found that it shows that pupils are fairly knowledgeable on the different drugs and substances of abuse. Tobacco, alcohol, and bang were the most widely known drugs with a prevalence of 89.3%, 83.8%, and 77.8% respectively. The drugs and substances of abuse reported as the most readily available in total anywhere or any time, were tobacco, which was at 41.9%, prescription drugs at 27.8%, alcohol 25.9%, and mirror 23.1%. So Blue Cross also did a survey in 2017, and the findings were as shown. According to the alcohol use, we found out that 45.3% of the respondents in this study have ever taken alcohol. Alcohol effects, we find that 53% reported that they have been violated by a man or a person because of him being drunk. And for the availability of alcohol, it shows that 83% of the respondents reported that it is easy for them to get alcohol if they wanted it. And there's also a survey that Blue Cross did in 2021, and we found out that gender was established to be a significant additional influence on consumption when coupled with education. This is about how young people are introduced to alcohol. So I'm not going to dwell on the recommendations by NACADA because it has been mentioned, and some of the recommendations that were done before, we can see that some of them are in progress of implementation. So I'm going to talk about the recommendations by Blue Cross from the survey that they did in 2017. And Blue Cross is in partnership with the national and county government, other organizations undertaking similar activities, and the community developed sustainable interventions to address the problem. Such a framework should create opportunities to integrate producers and sellers of illicit liquor into designing programs that empower the community in pursuit of alcohol-free lives. That is one of the recommendations from the survey done by Blue Cross in 2017. Another recommendation was that is need to scale up sensitization initiatives on alcohol-free society in view of the emerging adverse effects to individuals, families, communities, and the country. Such campaigns should focus on the creating awareness of the negative effects of alcohol to the community. These were recommendations for 2017, and some of them have been implemented. So from the recommendations from the survey that was done in 2021, Blue Cross also is to continue with its community campaigns and sensitization and awareness activities to the general community, and work with the national and county administration to sensitize the community on the socio-economic impacts of alcohol use and consumption. Another recommendation that they came up with in the survey was to work with adult supporters, recovering adult alcoholics, and other CSOs in Kisumu in providing life skills training targeted to children, adolescents, youth, women, PWDs, as well as provide clear referral pathways for rehabilitation and psychosocial support. And I'm happy to say that some of these recommendations have been put in place and are in the progress of implementation. Thank you so much for your time.
Thank you. Thank you. We are moving on, and please, I would wish that you write your questions when the panelists to finish. Then we are going to ask the questions. We'll call Slum Children Foundation, Mr. George Ochia.
Good morning, everyone. This bear with me, I'm not used to the microphone, so I'm used to the mtaa. So if you see me not using the microphone, so if you see me not using the microphone, don't blame me. I go by the name George Ochie. I am the founder and the director at Slums Foundation, and I'm very, very much happy to be here, to be part of the good work that Blue Cross is doing. And I was sharing with someone outside here, and I was telling them that the mark that you are, the impact of what you're doing, it is not necessarily felt by you by the time you're doing it, but to the spillover in fikia watu wengine. And hata kama imepita 2019, you guys did a good job. I was not around. I really prayed that I was around to tell the dad. So Ismail, ulifanya kazi nzuri, although I was away, but count on my support. Sawa. So I'm here to share the best practices of what I am doing with children in the slums of Korogocho in Nairobi, Kenya. Maybe you can take a few notes. I'll start by making a quotation that was made by Gada Wale, the UNODC Executive Director, last year when she was launching the UNODC World Report. And she said, vulnerable and marginalized groups, that is youth, women, and the poor, pay the price for the world drug problem. And I think it is evident. My good friend Yvonne was sharing here about the data. And if you look at it keenly, if you dig deep, you will realize that the children are also the worst hit victims. So we developed a program called Slum Smart Ambassadors. Slum Smart Ambassadors is a model that we're using, whereby we teach these young people about, it is like a peer-to-peer model, whereby you train these young people on how they can engage their peers to keep off from drug and substance use in a very simple language that they understand, in a very simple methodology that they understand, and in a very cost-effective way that do not make them or do not make the community or the involved organization use a lot of resources. So, about our program is that once we bring these children together, we have developed a manual. I came with a few copies I will share with you. The manual we've made it in a simple way that we have come up with a few topics that the children can be able to understand, that can help them facilitate sessions with their colleagues. And whenever they meet, we are able to train these kids about how to facilitate, how to engage their peers, how to talk about drugs, and not complicate it by talking about the drugs and the side effects and the type of drugs. No, ours is just to touch on because you might think that you are educating those children, but you are introducing them into the world of drug and substance use. So ours is just the definition, what is a drug, the type of drug depends on the environment. So in our manual, we don't talk about the types of drugs. Ours is just to touch on the types of drugs based on what they will share with you. And then once we are able to engage these kids, we also engage the parent. The parent must give us the consent to work with their children. Then once we are able to get the consent, train these kids, then we have a small graduation. Usually the training takes around 2 months per day, because we meet on a weekly basis for around 40 minutes per week. 40 minutes is like 1 day, every Saturday, 40 minutes, then we do it for like 2 months. Then once we're able to be been through with this, you organize a small graduation, then these kids graduate. When they graduate, they're given a certificate, a small certificate to acknowledge that they've gone through the training, a small badge to acknowledge that they are ambassadors. Then once this is done, these kids go to the community. And on the day of the graduation, they sign a concept. We call it contract concept. It's a model that was tried in Sweden. It has worked out. And as we speak now, I think it has been rolled out in around 130 countries around the world. And in Kenya, I think we were the first to introduce this in Africa. And in Kenya, we have done it. And I'm happy that it has been rolled in a number of counties. And Blue Cross, I had some hint that you are also in the process of looking on how to implement the program here. I will help where I can to ensure that it works out. Basically, we don't put a lot of things down for the kids to understand. It's just, I, George Ochie, commit not to take drugs for the next 6 months. Because for us, we decided we will not do it the way other people are doing it. Because in other countries, they're doing it for 1 year. But you understand the slum setup. So if you tell someone for 1 year, after 2 weeks, that thing is gone. But if you do it in stages of 3 months or 6 months, it is easier to remember. So after the duration of 3 months or 6 months, we are able to evaluate and see, is it something that is working or not? And out of the, when we first introduced the program, we had a lot of cases that were being reported in our offices, to the parents, to the children, to the schools. But the moment we introduced this at the community level, we've seen results. We've seen the cases that were being reported to us, they've gone down. We've seen cases of parents coming to us, they've gone down. We have successful stories of children who have transformed without being taken to rehab. Because it's just a matter of talking. Prevention entails engaging one another, talking, trying to argue your point in a way that the other person is able to understand, the sense that you're not trying to fight them, but embrace the positive environment that we want them to grow in. Then we've also seen cases whereby parents approach us. Because these kids, the moment they're trained, they are eyes in the community. Then a parent comes and tells you, my child challenged me that I'm taking drugs, I'm taking this. But they cannot become good ambassadors of the community. Or when they go to the community, they are told, you cannot be a good ambassador if your dad is doing this. You cannot talk about other people yet in your own house, you are not able to do this. So if we took that initiative of engaging these parents, we referred the number to Madare Mentor. Yvonne, I know you know Madare Mentor is one of the government hospitals around. So we referred a number of cases. I think as of now, since the beginning of the year, we have been able to refer, I think, around 30 or 40 parents that are now in the treatment programs, because we are not doing treatment, we are not treatment experts. But they've been enrolled there, and we are following up to see how they can be assisted. I think we've had our fair share of challenges in implementing this program, which is not easy. It is easy when I say it, but now when you put it down into practical, it's another thing altogether. And recently, we've also introduced this program to teachers. Because they spend most of the time with our children. So if they are in a position to understand it better, it is easier when you engage the parent, the teacher, and the child. The circle becomes complete. I think my 10 minutes are almost over, and see what everybody if you can. I'll rest my case at that. So. I know there are questions that you guys would want to ask. I will be more than glad to respond to them. But I'll say this in my own words. Prevention is cheaper. Prevention is cost effective. Let us not wait for our children to be to be absorbed deeply into drugs, and then we start thinking of taking action. This is the time that you need to start talking about drugs with your child. Don't wait for your neighbor to come on board and talk about drugs to your child. Take that initiative, start engaging them, ask them, what do they think, what do they see, how do they engage, and what do they think can be the solution? Because at times we come up with a solution assuming that that solution will work out for that child. But the best is let that child give you the opinion about what they think can be the solution towards addressing the issues of drugs and substance use among themselves. Thank you very much.
Thank you, George, for involving children and they participated and reaching out to the children. We are moving on, and please write your question. Don't say there's challenges. What are these challenges? Please write your questions. We are having 10 from Nakada.
All protocols observed. Ladies and gentlemen, good morning. My name is Ken Marau. I am a program officer in the Nakada Nyanza Regional Office. And I'm so glad to be part of this wonderful program. And we as Nakada are really grateful for what Blue Cross is doing and what Blue Cross has always been doing in bringing a transformative kind of approach through the Lifeskills program into the children, the school-going children, both in primary school and even secondary schools. And so Nakada has partnered with Blue Cross in a great way, as our director had earlier on said. And maybe my role in this moment, in this few minutes, is to let us know maybe why Lifeskills. Now that we have seen the findings of the research brought about by Caroline Wamaya, we have seen the prevalence, we have seen how children are the rates at which children are abusing tobacco products, alcohol, bangi, and all these other drugs. Then my role is then to look at that why Lifeskills. Now that this is a major problem, and we are saying unless we look at it from the grassroots point of view, from the children themselves, then we may lose it as a nation, we may lose it as a people, we may lose an upcoming generation, basically because of a problem that was highly preventable from the onset. And so as Nakada, we are really lauding the work of Blue Cross and looking forward to continuously partner with them in a way that brings sanity to our primary schools, sanity to our secondary schools, so that as we prepare young people to grow up and become agents of change in society, then we will be sure that at least our contribution actually mattered a lot in the upbringing. And so I looked, just looking at maybe the international perspective, we see the UNBC actually reporting in 2018 that about 275 million people between the ages of 15 and 64 used an illicit substance at least once in their lifetime. But the most sad part of it is how these 275 million people, these are people, not any other, these are people in our communities, people in our country, people in our globe. All these numbers are worrying. But the most worrying part is the 10 to 14% of these people who are progressing into developing substance use disorders or addiction. And so this tells us that we have to be concerned. We've already been given the findings, or the national survey findings of the general population in 2017, and also the substance use disorders among respondents between the ages of 15 to 65 years of age. And so if you would allow me, I would, the few minutes I have, I would wish to look at then why Lifeskills and why do we need it? what is the essence of having life skills in our schools, in our places, as individuals, as people who are concerned. Why do we have to go the life skills way? We see that this is the goals, life skills, the goals of life skills. We see that different people actually react to the same drug in different ways, on different occasions. And even in the same person, drug reactions may vary on different occasions, and the consequences of drug use are affected by three main factors. Number one, the personal factors, that is the reasons for using the substance. What are the reasons? What are the personal factors these young children are getting to substances, to alcohol and drug abuse? We saw that the median age of introduction of drugs to our children is at the age of 11 years, but the average age is between 4 to 6 years. And so that tells us that we need to be a worried lot, because we have many personal factors among our children that are leading them to issues of alcohol and drug abuse. Some of these are the parents themselves, who maybe are the illicit brewers in their homes. And so the child may go through the life skills program in school. They are taught how to say no to drugs. But back at home is where the issues are actually affected. Because looking at the parents taking drugs, then it becomes a matter of monkey see and monkey do. So we see that the personal factors are actually becoming a high risk factor, even into getting into alcohol and drug abuse. Then social and environmental factors. This is the social context in which the substances are used. We have children in our homes interacting with the micro environment, and then in the same way progress into the macro environment, and then their personal characteristics are actually influenced. Then that comes out in terms of behavior, attitudes, and even out of that kind of interaction, then we have them actually either saying no to drugs or actually starting to use the drugs because of the social environment. And as I have said, the micro and the macro level environments are areas where these risk factors can combine with the personal characteristics of the children, and that dictates whether they can be able to lead them to drugs and substances or not progress into the use of the same. Then the drug factors, the characteristics, nature, and the effects of the drugs themselves. So life skills-based education for drug use prevention addresses the first two factors with personal and interpersonal skills, and through the decision-making process, addresses drugs in meaningful and socially relevant ways. We are seeing the life skills program, as Madam had earlier alluded, NACADA has actually brought on board this life skills program since 2018, and we have been progressively upgrading it or upscaling it in different years. And we are seeing that currently we have 146 schools that are benefiting from the life skills program. And so this life skills-based education for the drug use prevention addresses the personal factors and even the social and environmental factors, where the children are coming from their families, getting into the school environment, and that is where I say we have the micro environment and the macro level environment coming together and influencing the personal characteristics of the child, either to produce a behavior of drug use or a behavior that takes them away from drugs. And so the life skills-based education for drug use prevention contributes to the primary goals of drug education for young people, which are to delay the onset of drug use, to stop the harmful use, to increase their awareness of the consequences of drug use, and then to enhance decision-making ability for healthier lifestyle choices. And then in some cultures we see that non-use may be a primary goal. And then life skills is a game changer in addressing drug prevention in society as an evidence-based intervention. Its positive outcomes are knowledge, attitude, and skills development. And so we see that the life skills program, currently we have been monitoring the life skills program around Kisumu, Kisii, and we are seeing that as we interact with the teachers, we have realized that there are some very key positive outcomes. The program is bearing fruits. We are seeing that there is, as much as we may go slowly, but going slowly to the right direction, is what matters a lot. And so we are seeing that there are several positive outcomes. We have seen, as we have interacted with the teachers in our monitoring program, that we have seen that there is increased performance, increased academic performance. Behavior-wise, we have seen that discipline has come back to the schools, and we have also realized that there is a lot of decision-making skills that have been sharpened among the children. In some schools, actually, we were told that the children themselves can no longer stand a place whereby any other child is abusing drugs. Anytime they realize a pupil is abusing drugs, they report it immediately to the teachers, and that has actually seen the teachers taking action, and that is a game changer, as we've said. And so life skills are actually the abilities for adaptive and positive behavior that enables individuals to deal effectively with the demands and challenges of the everyday life. And in this setup, we are seeing that our children are exposed. Our children are actually very much vulnerable because some of them at the age of 13 to 15 are now battling with issues of identity crisis. And they want to know who they actually are. But now through the Life Skills program, we have decision making, assertiveness, and all those kind of topics that actually equip them to be better members of society, and that actually helps them to look into areas where they can benefit in such kind of a program. And as you know, the major role of prevention, or the major desire of prevention, the first of all desire is to avoid introduction into alcohol and drug abuse. Then secondly, we look at in case someone gets into drugs, then our desire is to delay that kind of initiation of drugs among the children. And then after all, in case they end up in drug abuse maybe later, then our desire is to see that they don't progress into addiction. And so the Life Skills program comes at the onset of the children's life. And that is why we see that life skills education is actually designed to facilitate the practice and reinforcement of psychosocial skills in a culturally and developmentally appropriate way. It contributes to the promotion of personal and even social factors, the protection of human rights, and the prevention of health and social problems. So the purpose of life skills in a nutshell is to reinforce existing knowledge, to reinforce positive attitudes and values, as I have mentioned, and even to reinforce pro-social and healthy skills and behavior. We also have the role of life skills again is to prevent or reduce myths and misinformation. There's a lot of misinformation among our children. They are meeting up with all the other kids coming from various backgrounds, and there is we see a lot of myths and even misinformation, especially on issues of bang, smoking, and all these other drugs. And because of that, the Life Skills program actually has a topic on myths and realities of these drugs. And so the more they get to understand and to know about it, then that helps them to stand up and say no to drugs. And we have even gone to some schools where they have been composing songs and poems, reciting how children should go away from drugs. We see that when the teachers are laboring to see them getting better and better over time, then that becomes a step to the right direction. The negative attitudes and even the risky behaviors, life skills look into preventing or to reduce the tendency of such. We see the benefits of life skills training program from the teacher's perspective. We train teachers to be able to carry on this program so that in our absence, the teachers are there, they have been well trained, their capacity has been built to be able to run this program in schools, and they have consistently carried it out. It is in the school timetables, and we have seen a lot of achievement and the positive outcomes I mentioned earlier really come into play to see that the children are progressing towards the right direction. So Nakada piloted the Life Skills program in 9 schools in the region in 2019, and in Kisumu County we have 4 schools participated, and at the end of the pilot, the following are the observations of the teachers. In 2020, 10 more schools were added in the upscaling, and then in 5 in Kisii, 5 in Kisumu County during after the monitoring process. Then the teachers noted that the pupils enjoyed the program and were always looking forward for it, as much as it may not be examinable, but the knowledge that is that is provided by the Lifeskills program is very rich, very profound, and the pupils always look forward to have it. Then the pupils opened up to their teachers. These are the more outcomes of the program. We've seen pupils actually opening up to their teachers, and some of them even admitted to have used alcohol and other drugs before. Further, they opened up to addiction and were able to be helped through guidance and counseling. And so we see that the program is very beneficial, and that is why through this and what Blue Cross is doing, our great desire is to pool efforts, synergy, to be able to move to the right direction and be able to establish an enabling environment for our children to actually not get into the behavior of drug abuse. It was also an eye-opener for both the teachers and the pupils as they admitted to the program being lively and very interesting. This is because it touches their everyday life, it touches their perspective of life. They are able to look at life in a different perspective, and so it's a lesson that they always look forward to. Their participation and communication improved among the pupils. The pupils are able to participate in class, not only in that life skill subject, but the moment they are taught on assertiveness and decision making and all those other topics, then they are able to be very participative, and they also grow up in communication to be able to express themselves. And then we see that there is improved academic performance, as I earlier said, and there was marked cooperation among the pupils, as well as flourishing in group work. Taking of drugs among the pupils has actually increased since the inception of the program. Looking at the Blue Cross Lifeskills, Blue Cross actually piloted this in 4 schools, 2 primary schools and even 2 secondary schools, and they have scaled it to 24 schools, 14 primary and 10 secondary schools by now. Then we recognize Blue Cross Lifeskills manual because we have noted that it has used the UNODC prevention guidelines to develop that manual. And so looking at the content and what these people are doing, actually building the skills and the art of the kids is one thing that we really appreciate. So we note that the manual majorly concentrates on alcohol and has an age-relevant content and material. You see, then that makes it very relevant because it applies to the setting of the children in the school perspective. And so we see that it has also taken cognizance of developmental stages as kids continue progressing in various stages. Then the age-relevant kind of materials are available that now resonates with them in a great way. The manual has been developed based on the child rights approach, which promotes 6 principles, that is child rights, child participation, non-discrimination, best interest of the child, respecting and building on strength, and do no harm. It has used the component of TOT and recognized child-to-child mentorship, learning and promote child participation. In the schools that it has been piloted, clubs were formed and have been organizing activities on their own to create awareness on alcohol effects in schools and their communities. It involves the BOM, teachers, family, guardians, and even caregivers. And so you see it is a collective kind of approach which actually brings the children themselves, the BOM, the teachers, family, and that becomes, all these are social agents that actually bring a lot of transformation through the Lifeskills program. The only component that we know that has not been developed is that of community, which I'm sure they will develop in very due course. And then we thank and recognize the participation of the Ministry of Education through the County Director of Education, who played a key role in ensuring that the right content and information is given to the child. We see that teachers actually facilitators who model life skills. They are very important in providing the opportunity. Both NACADA and Blue Cross work very closely with these teachers. Having trained them, they are able now to carry on with great work to bring up effective life skills in the children in our schools. The best way to introduce change via school programs is by coordinating them with parallel community interventions provided by government agencies, for example, NACADA, community groups, for example, Blue Cross, and even the media. So we see that a lot has been done. great work is going on, and we continuously look forward to see that greater positive outcomes are established, even through the great partnership between NACADA and Blue Cross, and we look forward to have a socially healthy environment for our children. Thank you very much.
This is great. Ken, thank you very much. You have reminded us that the children naturally should be under the care of us and the government. Is it not true? But in these circumstances where we are talking about drugs, the children are under now the care of their peers. The parents do not know where they are. It is their peers whom you can ask, where is it? Peter, and then he's going to tell you, wait for me, I'm going to bring you Peter. I think this is the right time that the parents should claim their stand, where the Bible is very clear that train the child the way he should go. And then when he grow up, he shall not depart from it. So I'll call Shem to come and tell us the insight of these skills, how the Blue Cross has been moving on with these skills. Yes, sanitizer.
I believe it's still morning. Good morning, everyone. Good morning. Thank you. Good morning once more. My name is Ishmael, for those of you who know me. And for those who don't know me, my name is Ishmael. I work at Blue Cross as a director. I'm going to talk about the same thing that the first two presenters has talked about. How do you feel? Yeah? It's very interesting that working on the same field with the same people at different times in different locations can actually bring out almost the same result from different angles. And so I want to thank George so much for bringing for us the aspect of Nairobi, the slum child, and then with Ken from NACADA, who we look so much up to for issues of drugs and substances abuse. And so my presentation will be very easy because you guys have already talked about a lot of these things. Ken has actually asked us why life skill. But now let me talk to us about what is life skills. Because most of the times we are already known on a blanket kind of feeling that life skills, you know it like that. Eh? That's how I knew it. But life skills is the abilities that we have for adaptive and positive behavior. Thank you so much. Okay. So life skills is the abilities for adaptive and positive behavior that enables individuals to deal effectively with the demands and changes of everyday life. It also includes a large group of psychosocial and interpersonal skills which promotes mental well-being, leading to healthy, productive lives. So it's just basically that simple. It's just a component that comprises of a lot of things that we do daily. So life skills are applied to risk situations to prevent health-damaging behavior. in alcohol prevention, which all of us are actually now talking about here, preventing also focusing on the child, emphasis is given to decision making, communication, problem solving, and goal setting that builds resilience in children and youth. Yeah? So, Ken has actually told us why Lifeskills is important, and also that it enables children and youth to navigate their lives and deal effectively with the demands and challenges of everyday life. We know now that most of us here, apart from the young people and children who are in this room, that you grew in a different kind of environment. Probably if you're my age mate, you were parented by everyone in the community. Now, we cannot parent our neighbor's child, leave alone your own brother or your sister's child. That's their responsibility. Tunakubaliana. Yeah. So this approach creates an enabling environment that addresses the risks faced by the children and also the protective factors. It develops competencies and actual behaviors at individual and societal levels. We at Blue Cross basically have developed this manual over a period of 2 years, that is 2018-2019, where we piloted with 4 schools, 2 primary schools and 2 secondary schools. And some of those who are pilots present in this room, either by teacher or by student representation, so the learners are here, so probably we will see some of them or hear from them. So this actually was an effective tool for alcohol prevention for children and youth. The manual was then endorsed in 2020 March, that's early last year, and some of us present in this room were actually in attendance. So our Lifeskills manual is developed in 4 categories. So we have the introduction part of it, which explains why this manual was developed. As other manuals have also been explained here, I heard from Slum Child that they developed a manual basically that gives the child that opportunity to be a child, and it is developed differently. Nakada has said that they developed their own that focuses on training the teacher, that the teacher who is in class 5, every learner that will pass through that category of class 5 shall have been affected. Yeah? And so we created that introduction part, and then we have the facilitator handbook, which is a guide in planning, implementing, and evaluation of life skills. And then we have within the same manual an alcohol prevention learning activities that we have put all together, almost 36 activities that the child is able to go through or learn through from recruitment to graduation. And then we have also the facilitators training manual, where we have actually developed to help the facilitators of this manual to be able to use the manual, but going through the training. I have seen some of us here who have actually gone through the training of the facilitators, and they're using the same manual within their own institutions. So the Lifeskills manual has 2 components. One is that there is a children life skills activity. We have developed that so that as we work with the child, there is the activities that will help the child, one, to cope with themselves as a child, and then to help them to cope with other children or their peers. And the last part is where we are talking about alcohol prevention. The second component is the caregivers manual, which has also its own activities within 3 modules. So the first module is where we help the parent or the caregiver to be able to understand the strengths of their own child. Yeah? And then the second part, also with different activities, we help to build a happy relationship between those caregivers or the parents with their child. And then the last part is how to make an effective decision. Most of the times, if you have grown in the same community, not my age mate, you know that children were only to be heard and not to be. I see you. It's the other way. You only have one teacher in the room. children are not supposed to be heard, but they are only to be seen. Are we there? So this actually helps the parent to be able to come to a point where they can sit down with their child and be able to have an effective decision-making session. Mostly our manual is based on child participation, and active learning is one of the methods that we have actually put into consideration. So our life skill manual is interesting, it is fun-focused, and the child feels happy doing this activity or attending this session. So, and also it's an adult challenging the children to think after the activity. The adult here is the facilitator, and then the adult encourages children to apply what they have learned in their day-to-day life. So it's not just that they will learn the activity or the things within the session, but also that they're able to go and put those into practice. I will explain the pictures later, but also we have adults challenging children to be creative rather than giving them answers. Most of the times, we will always tell children how to do. Probably if you come from the same parenting session like I am, how many of you have children, number one? That's the first question. So it's a question you need to respond to. How many of us have children? How many of you will recognize this kind of conversation with your child? Umefanya homework? Umeoga? Umekula? Enda lala? You know that conversation? Yes. Then very early in the morning, amka utachelewa. You know that conversation? There is no how I use in this kind of parenting, isn't it? We don't have the feelings from the children. We can't solicit those because we are all in a hurry, isn't it? But here we allow the adults to challenge the children to be creative rather than to give them answers. Yeah? Chukua hii, fanya hii, and that kind of responses. The learning activities are more friendly. They also include music, as Ken had alluded to. Music, dance, poetry, drawings, drama, quizzes, and role plays that children enjoy and are really taking part in. So some of you have probably participated in our child activities or childhood activities, and you know how fun they can be. So every session has what we call linking learning with life. Linking learning with life is basically a component that ensures children that they will apply the new behaviors that they have learned in their daily lives with their families and friends. So from the learning place, the child will be able to take an activity back home where they are living within the community. I heard Ken say that the LSE is not, does not have the component of community, or we do not have a manual for the community, which probably is a gap that we really need to look at. And then we have at the end of it that this LSE or LSE is learning life skills, education. At the end of each learning activity, children should be able to know. So we are not only addressing the component of just education. So while we address know, which is the knowledge, then we also have the children to recognize what they feel or how they feel. How do you feel about it? And then the last part is that they're able to go and do what they have learned. And so what we tell children, and which most of the youth seated within this group, they know, we always do this together. So those of us parents here who are sleeping now, this is the part where we participate. So we say feel, adult learning. 1, 2, 3, we feel. No, you don't feel it in your head. Head is meant for knowledge, so just wake up. Okay, now we know, and then we feel, and then we do. Okay, did you get that? Yes. The first part is you feel, you know, yeah? So we address the knowledge. The child is in the session, they learn, they know these things. Now once they know, they go to a part where they are feeling. So in the feeling part, do they feel these activities? And if they feel, then they are able to do. Because we learned that most of the youth, when they don't, how many parents have that conversation? You don't understand us, isn't it? That kind of way. So we address all the three areas. So this has also been said that we have the approach of child to child, which was drawn into this manual when we were starting. We consulted with Child to Child International from UK that they helped us to develop this manual from the ground. So it is custom made. The pilot schools were involved in the whole survey kind of things to talk to the teachers, the children, the parents, the DOM, and the Ministry of Education. We went to Nakada. We talked to everyone to just find out how best is the child taken care of within this community. And so this, from child to child, we use the practical 6-step problem-solving methodology, which takes participants through an action plan following several steps that I will ask some of us here to be able to take us through before the session is ended. So we also have based this on the 6 principles of child rights, which Ken has actually mentioned: child rights, child participation, non-discrimination, best interest of the child, respecting and building on strengths, and the last one is do no harm. So we have partnered with schools since this. From the 4, we have already moved to 24 schools within Kisumu County, 10 secondary schools and 14 primary schools, where we have actually established Blue Cross clubs with a total of 1,200 learners. So our partnership with schools seeks to also supplement the LSC curriculum that exists within the school. We have learned from the presentations here that LSC is as a curriculum, but you find there is a teacher who is assigned to that. But I like when Ken said that life skills is not examinable, isn't it? It doesn't come to exams. So what happens is that the teacher that we have put so much pressure on has trained as a life skill facilitator, but because then they sign something, I don't know what it is called. Who is the teacher somewhere? What is that thing that you sign at the end of the day? Performance contract. Thank you so much. That you have done this, and if it is not examinable, it's okay. It doesn't add to the mini grade of the school. So those does not make sense. So partnering with these schools, basically, we have included the approach which also ensures that all children get an equal opportunity during the recruitment process. So because it's not a class session, this is an extracurricular activity. So we recruit from those schools, and it's a shame because of probably for us as Blue Cross that we are not able to recruit every child from the school. So we only will recruit with our recruitment guideline that we need a specific number of children per school. Like for example, now we're only working with 450 per school. One of the schools is having a population of over 3,000 learners. We have only 45. You can see the parity within that. That it is upon that we were able to try to find out how best can we still reach out these learners from the community. So the school administrations are very supportive in terms of allowing the children to take part in the program by providing learning spaces for the life skill education activities and a conducive environment to actualize the new behaviors learned and acquired. We have over time gathered a few achievements or outcomes from the life skills. And number one is that children do not live in isolation. They look up to parents and duty bearers to provide mentorship and guide for them. Our life skills have been able to also engage the parents in activities that improve their parental skills, hence consequently enabling them and supporting their children attain behavior change and live a healthy life. We know that those children who were not able to even perform better within their classes, after life skill sessions, maybe 6 or 7 activities, then they were able to open up because then they realized that it is possible for me to grow in a different way. So we also have in our program created a platform where children are empowered to advocate for their rights and engage the duty bearers on issues affecting them in their communities. You know that some of you have met the learners here who probably within one occasion or another visited your office, either the MCA or the chief or the Mijikumi, and has brought issues to you affecting their own communities. Recently, we had one within the Manyata community, and we were just surprised that the children have realized that there is no police post in Manyata. And they say we are not safe, isn't it? How many of you know that there is non-police station in Manyata? Now you know. Yeah, so also with the experience we have gained from the field, we are now able to train and mentor other child-serving organizations on how to use the LSE manual, both in and out of this country. So each year, we give opportunity to 20 organizations or facilitators to be able to be trained in life skills facilitation. And this, we also capacitate and equip them with skills that will enable them to deliver an effective program that ensures the youth and the children are able to attain the desired change outcome levels. If you see your picture on the screen, it's okay. We have your permission. The other thing is that the community involvement has produced long-term benefits for the children. We have the buy-in of some of the community members. We cannot say that we are accepted by all communities. That's why we are where we are at. So those communities that has accepted us has given us that opportunity to work with their children. And also a strong sense of belonging is reinforced when children are able to advocate and enhance change. Our life skills education has empowered children to carry out sensitizations against alcohol and drugs campaign as a way of promoting a safe and drug-free community. I will stop here probably before I say the last achievement, but I will ask my two able other facilitators who are co-facilitating with me to come and to share with you from their own experience as the beneficiaries of this program, what they have been able to go through. So don't clap yet, it's okay. No, you clap after.
The Blue Ribbon Week. Blue Ribbon Week is an alcohol and other substance use prevention campaign that was initiated by Blue Cross Club members from Alango Primary School in October 2019. Alango Primary School was recruited in the program in July 2018, and a total of 75 children were registered in different Blue Cross clubs in the school. The club members were taken through life skill activities where they were taught the 6-step approach of child to child, which enabled us to identify some of the problems affecting young people in the community. And so, we identified some of the problems which are affecting young people in Kajulu community. And some of these problems were school dropout, child labor, environmental pollution, children living with alcoholic parents, peer pressure, or negative peer influence. So, after we identified these problems, we went into Kajulu community and we did a survey. And out of this survey, we came back into our club and we did some calculations
calculation, and out of that calculation, we realized as club members that children living with alcoholic parents are the most affected ones in Kajulu community. And as club members, we proposed some activities that could help us to minimize these problems. So some of these proposed activities were making large cards with anti-drug slogans and pinning them on the walls around our school. And this idea was very brilliant, though it could only pass this information to the people who are around our school. But numerous people out in our community and others could not get it. And so from there, another club member proposed that we should wear blue rose t-shirts with the message, "Get high on grades and not on drugs," for a whole week during games time. And first, the local organization for the support that they have been giving to us. And even these t-shirts, they are the ones who gave them to us, and they really helped us. And another activity that we proposed was calling a meeting with all teachers, parents, local leaders to discuss how alcohol brewed in Kajulu affect them as children of Kajulu community. This was proposed because you find that there are some children who are coming from Kajulu community, and they are coming from these homes where alcohol is being brewed, and sometimes they are being attempted to taste this alcohol because you cannot serve alcohol and yet you are not taking it. So they found themselves being attempted to take, and this is how their lives are being ruined. And then from this, another club member proposed that we should make small badges on blue ribbon with anti-drugs and anti-alcohol messages and attach them on our shirts for the whole week in the school compound and even when we were at home. And this was the activity that we chose as the best one. So here we made some badges with the messages that help us to reduce this problem. And so here are some of the activities of this Blue Ribbon Week. The first one was to encourage young people, fellow pupils, teachers, and community at large to take a stand against the use of alcohol and other substances. And the second objective was to urge young children and youths to engage in free activity and strengthen their anti-drug beliefs. And another one was to assure the youth that living a sober life is cool and more fun. And this first objective of encouraging young people, fellow pupils, teachers, and community really made us to be proud, because when we were wearing the blue ribbons, we went with them into our own places, and we were happy to hear that some of the community members came into our school, that is Alango, and they gave feedback that they were very happy with Alango students because they were doing a very good job in the community. They were discouraging the use of drugs, they were discouraging the people our head teacher at Alango Primary School very happy with us. And so here you can see these pictures. This was the day that we were registering people and we were offering the ribbons. And this was the final day when we were marking the Blue Ribbon Week. As you can see, the students were taking their ribbons as they were being registered. And here, our teachers, they were taking their ribbons, our head teacher, and they were very happy because they were eager to know the messages which were in these ribbons. And here, we were also very privileged to have Madam Evelyn announce the children's officer. As you can see, she was looking at the ribbon, the message that was And here are some of the pupils who had the ribbons. They are very happy because they were passing very, very good messages to the community members, to the people, to the teachers, and they were very happy. And this was our former head teacher at Alango Primary School, and he really supported us as Alango pupils, and he supported us, and he helped us to pass these information. And this was one of the information that was saying that bang is not a problem solver. It will only cause many diseases which cannot be protected, which John, who was also a peer leader. He was helping us, and as you can see, he was giving his speech. And we were also privileged to have Madam Chelsea from the Children Probation Officer, and he really helped us. He made us to be aware of how children can stand up for their rights. And here was Ishmael, the director of Blue Cross. May I take this opportunity to thank him for the great support that he has been giving to us. He has been very supportive to us since we started this long journey. He has been with us anywhere that we've been needing him. He has been there for us, and we are very grateful to him. And before I sit down, may I take this opportunity to urge all people that living a sober life is more cool and it is good. So may I invite my fellow Marcel.
From Chanuka Primary School. I was a former student there, and I am a new person. Here is a pledge that you came up with, which says, I pledge to live a drugs and alcohol-free life, showing my friends that a sober life is more fun. If you may, please help me read. 1, 2, 3. I pledge to live a drugs showing my friends that a sober life is more fun. As you can see, teachers are coming to sign so that you can mark it. And here, some of the pupils were also allowed to sign it, to mark this. And here is one of our pupils who gave us fun. And if you will kindly allow me, I would like to play you.
Did the girls do a good job? Yes. Can you let me appreciate them? Tomorrow, I know if, as we celebrate the International Children's Day, the children have their session and it's going to be lit. Yeah? So with all these messages, the children are able to make their posters, placards, different slogans, different advertisements that are actually positive and anti-alcohol. So we have established 5 base camps in the slums of Obunga, Manyata, Nalenda, and Kibos community. We have 2 base camps, which are safe spaces for the children within Nalenda, and that makes them 5. These spaces has enabled us to continue LSC sessions, especially during COVID-19 closure. So we realized that a lot of things happened where the schools were closed and the learners were not able to attend school. So the base camps form the places where children will come and just feel safe. Here children and youth learn, they have fun, and they plan for action to help keep themselves and their peers in their community safe from alcohol and other substances. The other outcome that we have harvested is that up to now we have graduated 14 schools who have successfully undergone the minimum requirement or required number of 30 sessions. We have a requirement number that the young people within our clubs are supposed to take within in a school year. And so those schools, 14 schools have actually graduated, and now we have 10 more to go. They are now going to be the ones to go on with the activities within their communities, their community, which is the school community, and their homes to recruit new members into the Blue Cross Club. So we told you that Blue Cross is a membership organization, and those of us who live a sober life and would want to change their communities can ascribe to it. The last one is since the onset of LSC sessions, we have received self-reports and testimonies from parents, teachers, and the children themselves on positive behavior change and improved class performances with those children who have been taken through the Lifeskills sessions. We have parents who have actually come and said, I want to see one of the sessions that you do with my child, because now my child is different. Some teachers here can attest to that they will at break probably will be able to just mingle and hear the testimonies that the learners who are poor performers have actually improved in their attendance in school and also in their performance in class. Some of those learners who are not able to speak before are now the ones who are leading the school, not the class. And so those are self-reported, and what the children have just shared with you is the 6-step approach that we have here. So where we have, I will just mention because they have said it, the first step in our 6-step approach takes place in our learning place, where the children go to school. And here in the first step, they recognize and understand the problem. They actually find out more in the second step. The third step is that they would come together and discuss the findings. You heard the girls say that they did a survey. So they discussed the findings, and in one of those they highlighted what actually the discussion said, this is our main problem. The rest are problems, but this is the major one. And then they take action, which means they form an activity for that. For them now, they did that during the Blue Ribbon Week. And then the step 5 is to evaluate after the action. Where did we do well? Where do we need to improve? And then they come back in the last step where they do better next time. So in the evaluation will only help them to know that if you are planning such kind of activity next, then we are able to put this and this in place. Thank you so much for listening, for this has been our time for you.
Wow. The children have done a good work or not? Please clap for them. One, they became social workers in the community to advocate for the drug. This made me to say that Blue Cross is for volunteers. These children are volunteers. You can also volunteer to be a Blue Cross member. Maybe somebody will ask how. How many people knows how? If you don't carry your hands, I'll take you don't know. How many people knows how? So how is coming that these people who are in blue will talk to you, or you can talk to them, and then it is a voluntary. Thank you very much. We are going into another session before we go for lunch, which is very crucial because our panelists have talked, and you may have a question. They have talked on so many things. Please, it is time for questions. If you have a question to ask George, to ask Ken, to ask Ismail, or to ask the club. Maybe you want to know how many people are club members. So maybe we can start. Maybe you can carry up your hand and then you air your views. Please be free. Yes.
Hi, my name is Harold Matete. I have a question for, I didn't get the name, but for Nakada. When they were presenting, the guy said they were delaying initiation process for children so that they don't get involved in drugs. I am asking how are they going to delay that process? And then also my second question was, they also say that some of the parents, their economic, one of the things that they do for economic is they are alcohol growers. So how are you going to get a child from such a situation, not to get involved in drugs, and this is what their parents is using to put food on the table. Lastly, I would also like to know if you are free to share from Blue Cross, which are these schools that you've given us records that you've been supporting for the 24 schools, 24 years. And it's such a commendable job you and Nakada and Blue Cross are doing. We really appreciate what you're doing in our communities.
Thank you very much. Yes. Please, madam, go ahead.
Okay, my name is Vitao. I'm an addiction practitioner. And my question goes to George. And as you work with children, George, you have mentioned that you have sent some of the parents for treatment on addiction and they've come back to the community. So do you have a role you play after the parents come back to the community? After they have been treated in Madari and other places, what happens to the parents after that?
Any other? And maybe we take that one, then we answer, then we continue.
Okay, thank you very much. I'm Daniel from Kazuko Arts Production. We are based in Kisumu West, it's called Sons. And I have a question. There is this issue of guidelines, and I think it's something for the guidelines for Nakada, I think so. It's a high time that we can also involve the other stakeholders, and we use the testimony so that this concept, maybe this problem about addiction and alcohol use can be effectively understood. Another thing is that I know Ismail, you come this far because of performing arts, and I really acknowledge that. So let's also embrace the use of theater production film and perform his dance. So because the message there in, I think can also make people to change. And the last question is that how, to Mr. Ken, how can this guideline be available and also the life skill training be disseminated even to the community domain?
Yes. Maybe we'll start with George, with the
to my sister who asked the question about what next after someone has been taken to rehab. Because of time, I was not able to share a lot about what we do. Our focus is not only, we work with women, children, and youth, but our focus is not only children, but we have other license programs that we do with this, with the target population. We have table banking. We have a license program for young mothers. So once we have been able to refer you to rehab, you get an opportunity to be absorbed if you are a female, to be absorbed in our we call it Quick Life program, whereby you are able to be taught about pastry and tailoring. You know that program. There are others that we enroll in our table banking program. If you qualify, you group up with the rest, and you are able to get some skills that can help you become self-reliant and sustainable. A bit about, because I didn't want to talk about it again, because time is not on my side. I would want, first of all, to commend the girls for the wonderful job that they're doing. All I can say is I'm proud of Blue Cross. Ishmael, I will repeat this and I'll repeat it again. In 2019, I met one of your youth who was representing Kenya at the CND, the Commission on Narcotic Drugs. That young man did a good job. And if that is the same case, I am so sure that one of the fine days the girls will represent Kenya in another forum. So, what do I mean by this? We can change the world, but we can change the world by just making a small impact. If we can do this from here, and there is someone else who wants to do something in your land, and something, don't think about bringing all the children together. Start with you will be able to make a difference. And the other thing I know I did get also an opportunity to share, the kind of program that I've tailor-made is based on what I've gone through. I was a street boy myself. And getting an opportunity to be in these big conferences talking about drugs and everything is based on what I went through. So I'm not just sitting down and doing literal loop. You talk about what you've gone through. You talk about what you are able, what you've seen work, and what you think will be in a position to change the world. The kind of program that I've done was I've tried it with my children. I have a 12-year-old girl. I have tried it, I've seen it work with my daughter. So if it has worked with my daughter, then it means it can work with other children, because I cannot make a program and give it to other children and say my child is safe from taking drugs. At times, it does happen to you yourself. Where you think it cannot happen, it can happen. Maybe I know Ken will talk about this a little bit at some point, but I would really encourage you guys. NACADA has been very resourceful to us in terms of provision of material. And if you go to their website, they have all these materials. And Ismail, it is a request that I would want us to put to NACADA, that if all goes well, NACADA can organize the evidence-based training intervention for prevention and treatment to the civil society around here, so that we are able to understand what is all about prevention. Because the overall goal of what we are doing in our program is to delay the initiation, which is the global goal or a principle of substance use prevention. So if you're able to understand that, it becomes easier. You delay initiation, na kama umeingia ni kidogo ataingia sana, so that you're able to save and rescue. We can continue. Thank you very much.
Good. Thank you very much, George, for that amazing contribution. My response to the question on how do we delay initiation? We have young children in our homes, and how do we delay initiation of them getting into drug abuse? Looking at the evidence-based prevention interventions that NACADA is rolling out, we see that, for example, the Lifeskills program. The Lifeskills program is one evidence-based intervention that is ranked under the model and the model plus kind of intervention that has actually been proved to be very efficient, very effective, and through the Lifeskills program, as I shared in my presentation, we have seen great improvement, whereby we don't want to assume that children don't know what drugs are all about. We don't want to bury our heads in the sand and pretend that children are not exposed to alcohol and other drugs. But all that said, we also go to the extent of making sure, having trained the teachers, the impact of monitoring that program now comes in play, whereby we now are able to see, have this teacher been able to carry out the lessons the way they are actually outlined. We have a fidelity checklist that helps us to be able to look at the fidelity of the entire program. And so how to be able to delay the drug initiation, one is through building their knowledge, getting to know what is it that they know, because there is an entry behavior to everything. And in that case, the moment we, from the surveys that we have done, we have seen that the median age of drug initiation is at around 11 years. And then again, we see that the average is around 4 to 6 years. And so we don't want to bury our heads in the sand and think that this is not happening, that children are not abusing drugs. So what we are doing is coming up with the prevention interventions that have been tested and proved to be working, to be effective. And as I have mentioned, the Lifeskills program that we have rolled out, that Glucose has also been able to roll out, is a model and model plus intervention that has very high efficacy. And through the monitoring, we've seen so many children actually even confessing that yes, they have abused drugs, but through the program, they are committing themselves not to engage further with drugs, especially when they get to know that their brain matures at the age of 25 years, and how drugs can affect their brain and delay their maturity actually is one thing that has taken their attention. And so you see that having noticed that there is a problem, then coming up with interventions is actually helping in delaying the initiation of drug abuse to these children who are very young in age. Coming to the second question, how do we help children whose parents are brewers? Ladies and gentlemen, I must confess that this is a challenge we are all facing. Because we are coming from families, or our children are coming from families where illicit brew is the order of the day. That is what is done by the parents for daily living, and the children are really affected because, you see, they are the ones, when brewers are there and when they are not there, and when they want the brew to be delivered to them wherever they are, it is the children who are sent to deliver it. Are we together? It is the children who are sent to deliver it. And if I may go back to my very young days as a young boy, whenever I was sent to the shop to buy sugar, especially before these holiday papers were actually phased out, I usually came back home having tasted that sugar. So what does that tell you if a child is sent to go and deliver that illicit food? They will have a test, isn't it? So most of them are really affected. But again, NACADA is not us burying our heads in the sand and saying that no, there's no problem. But again, then especially the entire part of last year, Nakada was running programs on positive parenting, which actually focuses a lot on the parents, whereby the parent is the first socializing agent. The family is the first agent of socialization to the children. And so targeting the parents, especially through the media, our regional manager was engaged in quite a number of sensitizations in the local TVs, in the local radio stations, and that has brought a lot of knowledge and information on what actually needs to be known about alcohol and drug abuse, especially from the parental perspective. And this has led the parents to be able to know the dangers of exposing their children to drug abuse. And we have also seen from research that actually there is a very high tendency of children progressing to substance abuse, especially when the parents themselves are abusing the same drugs. And so when COVID actually came, we noticed that NTSA was telling people do not drink and drive. The Ministry of Health has closed bars. So where is the remaining place for people to drink? People are drinking at home. People are drinking in the parking lots. People are gathering themselves in disco matangas, thinking they are mourning a lot, but so many of them are indulging in drinks in the presence of children, and that has become one of the areas that has actually exposed our children to issues of alcohol and drug abuse. But again, through the positive parenting program and other programs that Nakada rolled out, we are seeing that as much as the change keeps coming, slowly by slowly, at least something is being done. And then the national guidelines on basic learning institutions, through Blue Cross, recently a sensitization was done for the teachers who are actually implementing the program around, and we plan also to be able to roll out and invite teachers to be able to be sensitized on these national guidelines. And then on life skills, how can they be more disseminated? It is still on the pilot stage, and we look forward to disseminate it as soon as we continue seeing the outcome of the program.
Thank you very much. And you enter into this through arts. Do you want to say something about it?
Did I? Yes, I did. Thank you for bringing that up. Thank you for the questions. I think the questions that came before is which schools. I don't know if I'm able to mention all the 24, but let me try. Alango, Rumbi, Kibos, Kenokura, I hope you're counting, Udo, Udo Secondary, Shaurimoyo, Arena, St. Mark, someone Ignatius, Loyola, Manyata, Primary, Osawa, Naga, the team. I have reached 18. The person was not even counting. It's okay. But we are working in 10 secondary schools and 14 primary schools within Kisumu County. And in Kisumu County, we haven't gone into all the 7. We are only in 3 now, sub-counties. That is Kisumu East, Kisumu Central, and Kisumu West, which is Moroka. Oh, that's Moroni, which is the most recent. Art, basically we use and have infused that even into our activities, and most of it I think was in the presentation, that we help the children to bring out their talents within the safe spaces that we have in the Blue Cross base camps. So you find that the children are engaged in activities that are helping them to develop their skills. So there are dancers, we have those who are doing drama, like you even saw in one of the clips here, about the boy who was actually just talking. We help them to also develop speech, like public speaking, and so we have those who aspire to be MC, and so we give them those opportunities to also be able to just try out, and because everyone is gifted differently. About the other question you say about, I think it was the first one, The second part was use of testimonials. We stopped bringing people who are addicts or former addicts into learning spaces to be able to give their testimonies, because we know, just as George mentioned in his speech, that we do not want to arouse curiosity. For example, nimekuja shuleni and I'm saying how bad I was a drinker, and now I'm reformed. Then the child is saying, you get it? So we stopped bringing testimonials because some of those we realized are encouraging or are enablers, for the beginners. Also disseminating the life skill manual. Most of the manuals, we respect that they need people to be trained on how to use them. And that's why for Blue Cross we decided that every year we will give 20 opportunities for training so that you're able to use the manual. We will give you the manual, but for you it will be just another good book. So we do not want either we give it to you and go and do injustice on the content that is there. So we actually train, and that's why Nakada also said they train teachers so that they're able to use the manual. You get it? So we do not just like say go online and download. So most people do that, but we want you to actually get the right direction with it. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Questions?
Yes, good morning everyone. My name is David Sweeter. The founder and lead team lead at Chair Ambassadors. This question goes to Mr. Chien from Slum Child Foundation, if I'm not wrong. You talked about not raising curiosity among children in your, I think it was a guideline or kind of a manual. But as a life skills expert, I have to ask this question. How do you then demystify the theories that are spread by peers or other addicts or other users in regards to the various side effects or what we call potential impact of drugs among children? Thank you.
Another one?
Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Winnie Wadera, and I have a question. First of all, I have to upload Blue Cross to this for the information. I am pleased, especially by the statistics shared by the different players in the prevention, various prevention interventions. So my question, going by the statistics on cannabis consumption, especially within this program, do we find it a priority to customize or to tailor-make a policy through the County Assembly of Kisumu to address the issue of cannabis consumption in Kisumu? That is one. And two, I'm a bit disturbed by the presentation of who is at the forefront of the war against drug abuse, going by the panelists, because I'm seeing just male figures. I'm wondering, does it translate to, on the ground? Is it the same feeling that women will take a vaccine? But I don't think it's true, because when our children fall prey to drug abuse, as mothers, we feel the but as women, we feel the way they're our children, they're our brothers, they're our sisters. So if you take a vaccine, that's worrying. So I don't know what happened to women leadership in the war against drug and substance abuse, going by the panelists. Thank you.
Yes, another one. Another one is here.
Good afternoon. George, Canada. I think mimi nitaongea na George kwa lugha ile tunajua. Huko mtaani kumekuwa na mihadarati na chang'aa na vitu vingine. Hawa parents ambao wanashughulikia na hivi vitu, umejaribu kuwasaidia kuwatoa kuuza chang'aa na vitu vingine. I'm talking about economic empowerment of the parents, so that wanaipa kutumia vizuri na wanakuza chang'aa na bagi na vitu vingine. Sijui umefikia wapi na unaweza think it is the right time to just try and argue that Mukuje Mashinani, so that we work with the youth for the grassroots. I'm working with youth using sports. I think sports and talent, they are good grounds to get the kids, work with them, sensitize, and also get information on how we can curb the use of drugs. So kindly, Nakada, Mukuje Mashinani. And to my friend Ishmael, thank you so much. We've been working with you for quite some time. And nasema asante pia, nasikia mnaletea chakula na vitu vingine wakati kulikuwa na noma mtaani. I think I would also like to argue to let us use, na jamaa hapa amejipima na kamera hapa. Can we use the cameras and other gadgets to empower our youth within the informal settlement so that we can use these ones to send information? Wanaweza tumia pia kujifunza kama kitu ya kuwapatia kuweka chakula mezani na pia kuform clubs ambazo zitawaleta pamoja, just to get them together and get to know what's happening and calm them away from this illicit drugs and others as a way of managing themselves. So kindly let us use the cameras and other things that tools that we have to empower our youth within the informal settlements.
Thank you.
Happy International Men's Day to all the men in the house. I personally celebrate all the men out here who strive to make this society a better place to be in. And so, enjoy your special day. My name is Farida Salim, a member of Kisumu City Board and also the Vice Chair of County Education Board. Sometime back in the year 2017, to be specific, on the 6th April 2017, the county government of Kisumu, through the Department of Health, launched a wellness center at Jaramogi Oginga Teaching and Referral Hospital. So there is a program there called Medically Assisted Therapy, MAT, that is meant to help drug addicts to get medical help. The reason why I'm bringing this up, and I hope Nakada is paying attention, I happen to interact with quite a number of the people who have gone through that program. There is a gap. After the medical program, what next? That is the question they all ask. They have been treated, they are well, they wish to go back home, but there is no source of income for them. And so I do not know if there is any program for such people, because then it will be a waste of resources to rehabilitate them and leave them hanging. If there is any program that is out there, I wish to know, so that we can help those who have gone through that program and we see if they can continue fending for their families.
Yes.
Thank you.
My name is Geraldine Mogwar, and thank you so much. I'd like to thank Blue Cross in Canada for the great work you are doing. My question goes to no one in particular, but I just want to say something on delayed initiation. We all need to understand that drug use or drug abuse is multifaceted, and so it needs a multi-sectoral approach. Even though we are giving life skill education to the young girls and boys, do we have a program for the teachers, for the parents, the people who are brewing all this or whatever drugs? Is there anything we can do? Because we continue to heal the symptom, but leave the causes of the disease. You are doing a very, very good work, and we are doing it. But we might be struggling with the kids, and we are not looking into other aspects. For instance, mental health disabilities. All these things just revolve around drug abuse. There are reasons as to why these girls and boys get into drug abuse. Do we deeply look into these causes? Thank you.
Thank you. very much. My name is Maureen Oganga, a teacher, an artist, and a child psychologist. My question goes to Ken. You say that you have programs in schools only for grade 5 children. Why only grade 5? I think in our family setup, when you're dealing with children, maybe in a family setup, you can find in this family the children, you can have toddlers in different age groups. So I would only want to know, why do you only have to teach children in grade 5? My next question is to Blue Cross. In the list you just told us about the schools you work with in Lifeskills education, I've not heard, I'm not sure why, if you work with private schools. I think private schools children also are vulnerable to drugs because they can easily get money from their parents to get drugs or alcohol. So if you can only clarify this, please.
Maybe that is the one as
Thank you. Good afternoon, everybody. I'm Krista Okeno, head teacher in Nyamonge Primary School. I take this opportunity to thank Blue Cross. What we have done, because we are now seeing the Blue Cross members as the people taking charge of the school. It's an easy to be a member of Blue Cross because they are the people who want to see that the school is clean, everything is right, any other case is reported and maybe dealt with. Thank you for that, and I want you to continue. Now, my question is, I don't know what is being done to the parents. As we teach the children in their rights, what we tell the parents? Because I had a situation last week where a parent confronted me in school that there was a boy whom, according to her, she was trying to discipline and then ran away with the Blue Cross kit. So this parent felt that whatever they are telling these children as their rights, they are taking advantage of it so that in any case of discipline taken, because they know that their children suffer. That is one. Number two, this one goes to the encouragement. I don't know whether there's a specific place or institution where we can be referring the students or people who have been found to be abusing drugs. I'm saying so because I happen to be in a board of a school where there was a serious problem of drug in a girls' school. When we invited the parents to be involved, the parents cannot believe that their girls are using this. Then we asked them to take these girls for counseling. Within 1 or 2 days, the parents are back with certificates, of which we feel that it's not appropriate because after 2-3 days, the girl is back in drugs. So I request that we have an institution that is specifically for these students so that they are being referred to that center. When they come back to school, it is from this certificate so that we'll be sure that they have been cancelled and they are fit to join the rest. Because the policy says that you can't keep them away from the others. They will be away for 2 weeks, maybe on suspension, but you must be admitted. As they come, you still find them falling in the same way. Thank you.
Thank you. We are going to stop there and let them answer. I know there are many, but please summarize your answer so that we can accommodate others whom we have not further questions.
We will try to be as brief as possible. If you happen to be a practitioner, Ishmael can tell you in the field of substance use prevention and treatment, there are certain toolkits that we use, the international standards for prevention or treatment. And most of the programs that we are doing, the case that Ishmael said, we don't use nowadays testimonials. If you look at those international tools, it's a global tool. When you go to Uganda, you go to Croatia, whichever country, the same applies. So most of our programs are designed using that toolkit. I mean, it's like a guide. We just don't sit on a tree and come up with a program. So you realize that there are certain parameters that we have to use when we are coming up with these programs. And it addresses a number of issues. I mean, getting even that training, to be trained, for example, on issues related to prevention. Yvonne, you can tell me if I'm not wrong, I think it takes almost 2 weeks to be trained on one toolkit for a school. For example, if you're dealing with the young people in school, you have to be trained on prevention, I don't know, international standards of prevention, targeting school. It takes 2 weeks, and the 2 weeks is intense. Then there is the one for the community, there is one for, I mean, there are almost 7 or 8 that you have to go through. So I think the best that we can do is, first of all, I'm still making this lean. I don't know how we're going to do it, but the civil society in the house, if we can make that effort, let us see how we can work with NACADA and get these trainings. Because if you get the trainings, you'll be able to understand the do's and the don'ts when you are doing your program. And it will be, it will help you be able to understand how do I address this. I'm trying to bring the whole issue of the protection impact that my colleague asked. Then there is the issue of policy that someone raised. If you look at, there are several policies at the international level that are trying to address, for example, issues of alternate living. If you look at the UNGAS document, the UNGAS is the United Nations General Assembly Special Session on World Drug Problem, the 2016 document. I'm happy that I contributed in that document. And if you look at that, it gives an alternate means of how we need to address the people who are, for example, the channel viewers. And the practical example when we were giving our input was that they used the issue of coca, the people who are making coca, I think in Jamaica, or I don't know which country. And they raised their concerns. They are doing it to get a source of income. But if there is a way that this can be done slowly to help them get something else that they can do, it will help. The government is really trying. They cannot do everything. For example, translate that UNGAS document within five years, it is done, and we are able to get the brewers, change the mindset. It takes time. The most important thing is for us also to understand what are these policies that we have at the international levels. How do the government translate them? Making a policy is not. Ken, you can advise me. You cannot do it within a year. I remember we contributed in the school, the prevention standards for the country. It took us almost 2 years for us to develop it. So it is all about understanding what we have there, what are the gaps, and how can we, the civil society, for example, if you team up with Blue Cross and the people around here, approach the county assembly, tell them that there is this. Is there a way we can develop something? Because at the county level, we have the freedom of developing the policies at the county level that can help us address certain issues. So this one can be scaled up to the national government for them to consider and see how it can be worked out. Then there is the issue of what we are doing with the parents of those who are producing illicit news and whatever. One, in partnership with NACADA, we've been able to offer NHIF cards. NHIF card fully paid for 1 year to 20 of the women who are brewing illicit brew. Because it's not about using force. If we are able to introduce NHIF, then pole we start the dialogue. Hii kazi unafanya ni nzuri, but unapatia hii. What do you think about doing this, then this, then this? Then pole unakiwa. It is not easy because that is the source of income wanapata. In order to introduce, maybe we will not be able to meet their daily basic needs. So ni pole. Then there is the issue of fraud that came up. Again, I will just still refer you guys to the policies. Kama saizi there is the Doha Declaration. If you look at the UN, they have the Doha Declaration. If you look at the Doha Declaration, I don't know in Kenya if it has been domesticated at the lowest level, but it cuts across whatever my brother was talking about. So if we are able to get that, for example, the Doha Declaration, understand it, identify the gaps, come sit down and ask government, because there are things that we might be asking Nakada, yet the Ministry of Sport might be responsible, or the Ministry of Sport is already doing it, but we don't know because we've not taken that time to understand it better. So let us also understand, so that if you are able to understand, you will be able to know who do I target with this, because at times we blame, people blame us for no good reason. For example, someone will come and ask me, George, we are Belewa Chakari, you need to talk to, I'm not a doctor, I'm a prevention practitioner, so I will not be able to treat, I will refer. So the moment we're able to understand it, it will be easier for us to know how to lead people around. Because you might go to the doctor with certain symptoms, but you already have a preset mind that you go on malaria. Yet it's not malaria, it is something else. But wewe na daktari nipatie dawa za malaria. So because we insist na wewe mwenye pesa, daktari atafanya nini? Atakupatia dawa za malaria. Then after 2-3 days, hakuna change. So I think we need to take that direction. That is it from my end.
If I may just speak on something mentioned by George on the economic empowerment of these illicit growers. We have realized, after doing a number of crackdowns in the region, we noticed some kind of challenges, especially when it comes to the issue of enforcement. Because again, we realized that these illicit growers form chambers. They form chambers amongst themselves, in that when one of them is hit in the evening, that person is bailed out. After being arrested, they can bail him or her out, and in the same time, we destroy the paraphernalia that is used to brew those illicit brews. But the same charm again goes deep into their pockets, able to fund that person back into the business. But as much as that could be a negative thing to say, but we have seen that some of the illicit brewers want to become reformed. There's a success story in Elgeyo Marakwet where illicit brewers actually came together and they said, enough is enough for this kind of business. We want to be empowered for alternative livelihoods. And in the same breath, recently we had a group from Nyamira coming together, almost at the tune of 50 of them coming together and saying to the county commissioner and also through our regional office, coming together to say that enough is enough, people, we need to stop this kind of business. It is not sustainable. We are being harassed left, right, center. All we need to do is now to start off other illegal businesses. And so there is a light at the end of the tunnel. We are working on the ground to make sure that things are moving forward, and we are seeing that impact is coming slowly. And again, someone said that Nakada is not in the ground. The reason why we have regional offices is because we so as to bring services closer to the people. Something that we have also done as a regional office is really to draw partnerships. We have quite a number of partners in this county, in the other 5 counties that we run our programs in. And so maybe you may need to know where our regional office is. You may come to the Huduma Center building, first floor, we'll see, or just write an email to nyanza@nakada.go.ke. We'll see if the areas of partnership between the organizations and ours. We have received quite a number of young people coming with their ideas, sports, and so many things that we have been able to partner together to work on a few areas. Someone asked about why grade 5 alone for life skills. It's because it's still on a pilot basis. And we look forward to rolling it out after the piloting of the same. And because my colleagues are here, maybe we could have responses. Mr. Samson Visa, our director, Yvonne, our regional manager, they could also weigh into the discussion, be able to give us a highlight of maybe what next after the medically assisted therapy, meaning in Russia. we have the LPCT who are good partners. They are doing a good job in such an area. So maybe Mr. Officer could give his contribution.
Thank you so much, Mr. Ken, for that wonderful presentation. My name is Mr. Samson. I work for Nakata as a regional corporate based in Kisumu. I want to appreciate Blue Cross for this wonderful forum and the work they have been doing. I also want to really appreciate all the partners in the house for all the good work that we've been doing. And I must say that in Kisumu we are really blessed in terms of our support network across government and civil society organization. And then also I want to appreciate the young girls from Alando Primary School for the wonderful job they are doing. You all see people in terms of presentation skills. I think that was great, isn't it? So thank you so much for that. Before I come in on the question that Ken has posted, from the presentation that we've had from Mr. George, Ken, and Shem, it's clear that there's so much to be done. Yeah? Because Blue Cross so far has only reached 24 schools. Nakata is talking about 9 schools in Nyanza. Yet there is so much to be done. Colleague, what basically this tells us that there is lots of opportunity in this field that we could actually come to celebrate. So even as we engage and we continue with this forum, let us also think of how we can infuse issues of alcohol and drugs into our program and also actually support the same. And of course, in line with this, our director talked about the national guidelines on prevention and management of alcohol and drugs in basic learning institutions. And we are actually at the level of dissemination and reaching out to our stakeholders so that these guidelines can get operational. Again, we are calling on you as our partners. Let us look at our programs. Let us look at the possibility of infusing some of these interventions into our program and also supporting. We are here because we've worked with Blue Cross for so many years. It's not a journey that has started today or recently. It's something that has been quite progressive, and we really appeal to our partners to actually support the same. Then, of course, the other element is when we talk about alcohol and drugs, this is a developmental issue. It implies that the moment you are born, you are exposed to the first environment, which is home, and then you proceed to school, and then to the larger community. So it can never be a function of Nakata at all. Yeah? And when we talk about prevention, we are so keen, because the brain of human being develops up to the age of 45. So during that time, should a child interact with alcohol and drugs, then the development of brain is compromised. And chances of that particular child developing addiction later on in life is very high. And that is why prevention is very important. Then going to what Ken had asked me to talk about in terms of MAT, that is methadone-assisted therapy at Jaramogi Oginga Teaching and Referral, and the question of what happens after they come out there. I want to thank the director for bringing that question up, and we acknowledge the kind of services that is offered at Jaramogi Oginga Teaching and Referral Hospital. That said, I want to mention that there are a number of programs that government are rolling out, and Nakada is just part of government entity. We know that there are efforts to support young people. We know that there's effort to support our women. We know that government is rolling out cash transfers targeted at vulnerable households. And ladies and gentlemen, some of these support they may appear little, but believe you me, the impact is usually too huge. I know families who've been able to take their children to school courtesy of that 2,000 shillings per month. I know families who've done farming and have therefore provided food to their children courtesy of that money. I know families who had their nutritional status actually improved because of government intervention. We all know the impact of NHIF among families in terms of accessing healthcare. Yeah? So government is this big umbrella that is working on so many intervention areas, including rehabilitation programs and what is happening at Jaramogi Odinga Teaching and Referral Hospital. So then I think we also need to encourage the citizenry on the availability of these services so that we also get to know along other empowerment programs that are actually being undertaken. And it is also important for us to know, because in the field of intervention, especially as it regards to drug, we have an area of so many stakeholders, both civil and government. And even within county government, we have the Directorate of Alcoholic Drinks Control, that has been mandated to undertake prevention and treatment initiatives. And because of that core function that was devolved by the Constitution, the Kisumu County government, just like any other county government across the country, was mandated to control drug and to license liquor selling premises. As we speak, Kisumu County has been licensing since 2014, and they collect liquor funds every year. And all this money, according to the law, is supposed to be remitted back to support intervention programs. So then, as civil society again, we need also to petition the county government because we want to be interested. Now that you are licensing and we have resources, how then do we put these resources into use? Yeah? And I'm happy that courtesy of Blue Cross and the Kisumu Technical Working Group on Alcohol and Drug Abuse Control, we've managed to petition the County Assembly of Kisumu. It is work on progress, so that we want to see to it that one, that directorate is functional, and that two, they are able to do what they are mandated to do. And then that three, the resources that have been apportioned from licensing is actually put to direct use. And ladies and gentlemen, we can only achieve that feat if us, as civil society, we actively engage. Because trust me, 6 years down the line, we will not sit here and pretend that we are not even aware that there is a directorate that is mandated to coordinate the campaign at the county level, and that is also resourced. Yeah? So this is something that we need to pay attention to, and remember, it is all of us. When it comes to NACADA, we've tried our level best, but it is all about what are we doing at those different levels. And that is why we are having this discussion. So that when we meet, it's about what is it that NACADA is doing, what is it that Blue Cross is doing, what is it that Renaissance is doing, and how do we bring these energies together so that we leverage on each other's support. Thank you very much.
I think we are giving director, but I think lunch is almost ready.
Okay, thank you. So there are like 2 or 3 questions that have not been responded to. So somebody asked, what happens next after treatment? Now, NACADA has a program in Mombasa that is a presidential directive. It is a rehab, outpatient, inpatient. We also have a methadone clinic. Now, on what's next, as our minister said, the other arms of government that actually deal with this So what we have done there is the youth empowerment program. So some of the clients who've gone through the program have been introduced into this. The youth fund is actually taking care of them. So what happens is after treatment, you can actually reach out to the clients, tell them to come together as a group and apply to youth funds. They're being given priority. Somebody asked if you have programs for others apart from children. Yes, you do. And my colleagues have been talking about outpatient programs all over the country. These are the ones that have been accredited. Please don't take your students to quacks. Like the one you described was a quack. Addiction treatment is a specialty field. And Madam Lydia can tell you, it takes a while to be trained in it for it to be competent. So if you go to the website, you'll find programs that you've actually screened and you're saying they know what they're doing. Somebody asked if we screen for substance use. If the person has been trained, you cannot treat if you don't know what you're treating. Substance use is a symptom of another problem. So could it be a mental health condition? Could it be stress at home? Could it be attention seeking? This is always done. In cases of relapse, something is not being addressed. Thank you.
I think we have maybe 2 left. Thank you for answering the rest of the question panelists. Maureen also asked, do we work with private schools? We don't. Not because they are private, but by choice, because of systems. Yeah. There has to be consistency within the program, even as we develop, because public schools are best placed in places where there is governance, proper governance, government setup, and so we needed to follow all the protocols within working with children on the best interest of the child. So much as we're going over this, we say we're working with now 24. We still have, as some have said, that there are so many schools, even only in Kisumu County, that we are very in touch. We are only in 3 sub-counties. We have maybe 1 school in 1 sub-county, which is Moroni, and that's Kisumu Prisons Primary, Kibos Prison Primary School, which is just 1 out of how many towards Moroni. So we are just here, and that's why we are training other organizations that are working with children and also probably have private schools that they are interested in to use this manual within their institution. So we train the facilitators so that they are able to get this manual. The other question was about the question of rights. This one was asked by Esther, that we talk to children about their rights, so the child is empowered and they know their rights and the parent is not. You realize when we were making our presentation that we have a parent or a caregiver's manual, which actually is divided in 3 parts, as I said, and those parts, what we have learned over time, there are other schools that parents do not even cooperate with parenting in schools. So we will find that probably one of these child that brought the case, or the parent who brought the case to you is amongst such parents who do not actually even attend the parent or the caregiver sessions, because we know parents who come to the clubs and support their children who are in the clubs, and they go through the manual themselves. And so we are not saying that we teach children to be defiant. You as one of the teachers within the schools knows and have probably looked at our manual, and that the child is empowered and the parent is not. Mostly what will happen is that the parent will feel that the child is disrespectful, especially if let's say Faith, who was speaking here, is your daughter, and you haven't been told that your daughter is got this quality. You realize that we start with the parents in allowing or helping them to understand their child. And so if you come to the club and you realize that your child can speak this well, wouldn't you be proud? We know parents who, when their children would sit down with them and reason, they would really punish the child because the child is talking back to them, according to them, that this child we take. Isn't it? If your child asked you to, agree on would that be a right issue or an understanding kind of issue? Isn't it? Because sometimes we insist on things. How many of us have called their children and said, Christmas is coming, and can we agree on what we are doing this holiday? Most of us will attest to the conversation that it's Christmas, we are going home. Isn't it? Or you just wake up tomorrow and you have actually arranged, you and your husband or your wife, that together you plan Christmas and our children must tag along. When a child tells you no, we hear that we are organizing with Blue Cross, isn't it? With the other club members, isn't it? To talk to other youth during Christmas because there is a lot of free time and alcohol and that kind of thing. You don't want to listen. What you will only say is Blue Cross, wamefundisha watoto wetu go. You know that kind of thing. But if you're a parent and you attend the sessions that is parent or caregivers session, then you will learn to know that we are actually helping you to parent better. Because then you come to a point where you are able to agree on issues and listen to your child. Yeah? My child puts me down and say, listen, if it was my time, you wouldn't even have dinner. Just like, talking back to your mother, isn't it? Because you want to reason, but that's the kind of thing that you will realize with parents who do not attend sessions when they are called by our facilitators. And then the last one, I think that's the last one. Thank you so much.
Thank you. I think lunch is ready, but I know we have so many questions. So many, because it is a line that is of necessity. So, but we have also to go for lunch because of time. I would have the risk. Please give us a clap for this session. Then, Emily, you pray for us.
Hello. I want us to do it differently. I don't know whether we'll be able to do it, Mr. Ishmael. Levels, are they allowed to leave the podium? Okay, just stand up there and as they just, let's experiment, yeah, with me. So if I raise my foot, yeah, for example, so you clap, sawa? Are we ready? Let's see. Let's go. Until they reach where they should be seated. Don't tire. They have done their part. Again. Let's see them going. And then of course mine is coming. Huh? Are they settled? Not yet. Let's do it. 1, 2, 3, and then now mine. Are you ready? Thank you very much.
Hello. After that great session, let's have our lunch. Our lunch will be only for 1 hour, please. Please pick your lunch cards, meal cards. at the registration desk. Please, let's have 1 hour because we have a very interesting session in the afternoon. Thank you.